This is your host Avinash Tripathi, and welcome to the second episode of our conversation with Mr. Abhishek Nema. For people who didn't listen to the first part, here is a quick intro of him.
Abhishek, with over a decade of legal experience, is a seasoned professional who has navigated the intricate corridors of justice. His journey began in the halls of the High Court, where he honed his skills as a litigator. But Abhishek's legal prowess extends beyond the courtroom. He seamlessly transitioned into an in-house counsel, deftly managing legal complexities within organizations. However, Abhishek isn't confined to legal briefs and statutes alone. When the sun sets and the legal world rests, he dons a different hat, a poet's hat. In the quietude of his spare time, Abhishek transforms into a wordsmith, weaving lyrical verses in Hindi. His pen dances across paper, conjuring poems and stories that breathe life into emotions and experiences. So without further ado, let's start this podcast.
Hey Abhishek, thanks again for joining on the second part of this podcast.
Thank you so much, Avinash.
It has been our privilege. We are hearing so many amazing things about the first part. Let's start the second part. So one of the unique things and one of the amazing things that I noticed that you enjoy writing. So how does this creative pursuit influence your legal profession?
Okay, so what I write, I generally write the poems in Hindi. Okay, so whenever you write, first you need to know the content. And for knowing the content, what you need to do? You need to read about it. And the similar thing is also needed when you're practicing a drafting in some legal document. You need to read about it. You need to read the legal provision. You need to read the background of the situation.
Yeah.
So this is the first thing I get help from my writing skills. And second thing, when you are writing, for example, you are writing poems, you also need to read the poems of other poets so that you can adopt the style from them.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you draft a legal document, what you do, you take the format of the other documents, or you're writing a legal article, you will try to find out what other people have written, and then you borrow some style. So this is also the similar thing that you adopt from your writing skills in the legal profession. In the third thing, in the Hindi poem, where I write Hindi poem, there are certain disciplines. You have to follow some grammar. If you are aware about Hindi, there are chand.
Yeah.
There are matrik chand and varnik chand, and there are certain rules regarding it. And there is a bell, okay, so that you can sing your poem.
Yeah.
There are the rule of rhyme. In the end of every line, there should be rhyme.
Yeah.
Okay, so similar thing, you also need to have a discipline of the presentation and order in your legal drafting too. This is the thing you always know, when you're drafting a legal document, your writing skills will help. So whatever you are writing, whatever you have learned, you can adopt this in your legal drafting too.
Wow. Such an insightful answer. And this is something even I also realized quite late in my career, is that learning starts with repetition. And what you brought in this point completely relates to the next question I was going to ask is AI. Now, what scares me about AI is that if you think about it, AI is doing nothing else right now. It is just repeating the human behavior. It is being fed on so much data, and it is at a stage where it is trying to imitate the human behavior. And that's what scares me, that, right now, AI is like a 2-year, 3-year-old kid, and pretty soon it will outsmart us. But let's see how future pans out. Now, let's talk about the emerging technologies. I'm sure just like everyone in this world, you must have heard about ChatGPT. So what was your initial response to that?
So first I discuss how did I hear about it.
Yeah.
What happened in my college batch WhatsApp group, somebody raised a query regarding the implication of the ChatGPT in the legal profession. And that was the first time I heard about ChatGPT. I did not know what the hell it did. Then what generally you will do, you will Google about it. Google gave some technical things which I could not understand. Then I asked the IT team lead of my company, यार ये ChatGPT क्या है? Then she told that आप इससे बहुत सारे काम करवा सकते हो, जैसे कि आप इससे स्टोरी लिखवा सकते हो, या आप इससे पोएम लिखवा सकते हो. I said, really? Let me try what poem it writes. Then I asked ChatGPT to write a poem, some political figure which I gave to them.
Okay.
And honestly speaking, the result was a nonsense.
Okay.
I did not like it. And then I thought that this is just a technology and this is just a time pass.
Okay.
And I forget about it. Someday after, what I realized, one of my junior, he used to write emails. And in the emails, what I found, his style of writing emails had been changed.
Okay.
I ignored it, but I thought maybe he had using ChatGPT that I did not use. And after some days, he wrote an email. Actually, he did not write. He copied it from the ChatGPT. And there was some mistake in that. Obvious mistake. Anybody can get.
Okay.
Then I told him कि बेटा नकल करो तो अकल से करो वरना शकल बिगड़ जाओगी ये केस है तुम्हारे सामने. But I felt that time I should try this ChatGPT. In my job, what I am required to do, I am required to communicate effectively with my stakeholders.
Yeah.
If sometime I write, I may not be that effective. So why not I can use ChatGPT for it? So whenever I am writing an email or whenever I am writing any draft, what I started to do, I started to rephrase it with the help of the ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Then again work on it, analyze it, whether ChatGPT had committed any error or not,
Yeah.
and fix that error, and then start sending it to the stakeholders. And that the impression was quite impressive. So what happened? I started to get the answer that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So this is the way I think that the ChatGPT helps. And since you have asked the in IP related task how it can help, I have worked in the trademark phase before. So when you draft a trademark application, there is a standard format. You draft opposition application, you draft counter statement. There are also standard format. You just make the minimum changes there.
Yeah.
So with the help of AI, you can draft all these things. You also will see that the trademark office and even the patent office, they publish the gadget weekly. And you have to go to that gadget manually and find out that whether there is any mark which is similar to the mark used by your company and be applied. Then you will make opposition. And this is a very tedious job. You will spend 1 to 2 hours to read the whole gadget and find out the infringing mark. That can also be sorted within a minute by AI if the technology develops more.
Wow. Great answers there. And this is something drafting TM1. I think at that time it used to be TM1. Now I think the form has changed.
TMMI.
Yeah, TMM. It was a really mundane task, in my opinion. And I think this task can be performed really well by AI. The examples that you gave about using AI effectively is something that I can relate to. In my experience was a little different because when I initially heard about ChatGPT, I asked it to write a rap song on trademark. And maybe I'm not a poet like you and I'm not a rapper. So the result it produced, I really like that. And now the emails that you are saying, I completely agree. I haven't written an email from scratch in the last year. I just make a crux of what I want to convey. Yeah, and ask ChatGPT to rephrase it. I have a couple of tricks and tips there to rephrase it in a way that it doesn't hallucinate much. And then again, look at it, make sure that, there is nothing wrong and factually incorrect mentioned there, which I would say happens a couple of times in 2 to 3% of times if I have.
That's the example of my junior. He just copied.
Right. Right, absolutely. This has happened to me. Like some people will just copy and text it and they will forget to remove. This is created by ChatGPT or this is created using this prompt from ChatGPT. And yeah, it's very obvious to detect that. And what I also feel that now what AI is producing is just bare minimum. Like right now, if somebody writes you an email where there is a spelling error, you will find it horrendous mistake, right? Because there are spell checks there. Just like spell check, basic drafting is just the status quo now. Now, if you want to add value, you have to go beyond what AI is doing. Like we are hired as an external service provider or as an employee to add value. That's why people hire us, right? Now, the employer or somebody who is hiring you will say, if you're giving me results worse than AI, then I would have gotten this work for free. So that's why I tell to everyone, now what AI is doing is status quo. If you are just producing the results similar to that, then you are producing no value at all. Now you have to produce something better than AI, then only you will have value as an individual.
Yes, I agree. I tell you, what I think, you may be thinking it in a different perspective also. So this is always possible in our job. So when we are taking help of the AI to draft something, it will always produce a consistent result.
Yeah.
Then every lawyer need to work on it and to provide color to that draft.
Yeah.
So this is something you can add value with the help of AI to your organization.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I believe. Now, the thing is, if you imagine a situation where you are drafting from scratch, and obviously it's 100% human content, you have done everything. But if there's another guy who has initially used AI and then put in his efforts, whoever has the better outcome at the end of the day should win the war. As an employer, all I care is who is producing the better output.
Yes,
Right now, none of us can work on typewriters. We don't care what technology are you using. All I, as an employer, I care is who has the better outcome. And the person or the employee who will produce the better outcome should win in the long run.
Yes. Even if you can see the judgment of various posts, you will find out what they have written, you are not able to understand it.
Yeah.
They can also take help of the AI.
Yeah.
Most of the judges, when they are pronouncing a judgment in English, they are not able to use the language correctly. But if they take help of the AI, they can provide good judgments and it can make a sense and also may avoid some of the litigation because of the errors.
Yeah, great insight there. Now, moving on to the next question. You mentioned about how IP related tasks could be automated using AI. Do you have any other use case in the corporate legal department?
Not now, but I have some idea that we can.
Please do.
For example, there is a dispute which has come to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever the dispute comes, there would be a lot of documentation related to the thing. And as an in-house person, you need to resolve it. So first thing what you need to do, you need to understand the chronology of the event. So whenever you draft, you first prepare the list of the event. And then what you do, you go through all the documents, note down the key points, and then prepare it.
Yeah.
And it will take a lot of your time. So with the help of AI, what you can do, you can scan those documents, upload them, AI will read it, and provide a chronology of the event, and then you analyze it.
Yeah.
That is also possible. If the technology is developed in that way, it will save a lot of time of lawyers also.
Yeah. That's a very interesting use case. And do you have any thoughts on contract drafting and review? Because you do a lot of that.
Yes. So the contract review, what I have come to know the use case that the AI is able to catch the grammatical errors and some of the formatting error. For example, there are some internal references and they are mentioned wrongly in the contract. The AI will correct it. When you define something, you need to capitalize the first letter. These are the obvious mistakes that you will make generally in a contract. And when you try to find it out, it will take a lot of time. And suddenly, if we think about drafting a particular clause, then in that case, you need to provide some more input to the AI. In that case, if the technology is getting developed, you need to have some check boxes. For example, you need to draft a force majeure clause. So in force majeure clause, for example, first you need to define what is the force majeure. So you will list certain event and you will list the general nature of the force majeure that I prefer. That's something which is reasonably beyond the control of a party. Then, if the force majeure occurs, what is the duty of the affected party? It needs to give a notice within certain day, promptly, or within reasonable time, and try to take reasonable effort to mitigate it. These are the duties. So you can have a checkbox what you want to keep in your clause. The moment you check that particular thing, the AI should be able to generate the outcome and draft the clause. So this is the way I think AI can be helpful if the technology is developed.
Such a great answer there. So my next question is, AI and litigation appears to be a very powerful partnership. So AI-powered analytics are taking the legal world by storm. What are your thoughts on using them to sharpen legal strategies? Can you envision any groundbreaking benefits from this approach?
As I already given you the example of listing the event, making the list of the event with the help of AI. I would like to take liberty to modify your question slightly. It should not be the litigation only, it should be the dispute resolution. Because the litigation is only one of the parts. So when you're talking about the dispute resolution, there are conventional method of going to the court or arbitration, and there are the other area method like conciliation, mediation, and the negotiation between the management. So whenever you go the unconventional method, so there is an impasse that the party is stuck on a particular point. So this is a position. And in order to overcome that position, what you do, you explore the options. You try to find out what can be the other option to resolve this problem. In that case, AI can be helpful, and AI can generate multiple options, and then the parties can select 3 options, 4 options, and whenever they have agreement, that option can be used as a settlement, and the litigation can be avoided.
Yeah, that's such a great answer. One of the things which recently came to me was using AI to come up with questions for cross-examination. Because when you're preparing for a cross-examination, a lot of times you tend to miss a question, which you realize quite late. And because AI has the capacity to understand and digest a lot of data, it can go to historical documents and figure out which kind of questions have worked. And obviously, as a lawyer, you will have that final say that whether I should ask this question or not.
Yeah.
But that's also realized for dispute resolution. This could be a good use case. I think is quite adept for AI use.
As you are talking about the cross-examination, when we cross-examination, what to ask rather than it is more important what not to ask in the cross-examination. Sometimes what happens, you ask something which is better to your case. So that also can be explored by AI.
Wow, very wise suggestion. Moving on to the next question, as everybody is adopting AI, especially enterprises, how can we ensure AI is implemented responsibly and fairly within the legal department, upholding the highest ethical standards?
Okay. So when organization is going to adopt the AI, there are 4 things which I think are required. First is the training. You need to tell your staff how to use AI, where to use AI, and that training need to be given to the staff, and the corporate has to make investment in it. The second thing is the data privacy. Companies are very much concerned about their data nowadays. And when you are putting that data in some third-party software, there is always a possibility of leakage of the information. So you need to ensure that whatever software you are using, it does not leak your data. So in that case, the legal department can take up the help of the IT department when you are negotiating a contract, when you are evaluating a software. So this is the data privacy can be ensured. Then developing a SOP. You need to have a standard guidelines for your staff, in which cases you need to use AI, to which extent you can use AI, and what precautions you need to maintain when you are sharing the data with the third party generated by AI. And with the help of technology, there also should be checks on this process. So whenever there is a violation, the management should be informed and the corrective action should be taken. And the fourthly and the last thing which I think, there should be regular audit on the use of the AI. You are auditing how the AI is functioning in your books, what benefit you are receiving it, and what benefit you can receive in future if you improve your processes. So I think if you adopt this framework, you can implement the AI within your legal department effectively.
Such a great answer. So now it's the rapid fire round. My first question is, guilty or not guilty, staying up all night to finish legal briefs?
Being in all, this is no more required. It is only required 1 or twice in a year. So not.
Next question. Your biography, if written today, what would be its title?
I have to achieve a lot for that. And that biography would be written by something, so I will need the decision for in what title we do this.
Okay. Now the next question. What's the weirdest law you have ever come across in your readings?
Love to think about it. Yes, when I read the Muslim law, it is the period of Iddat. I don't think why it is needed nowadays when you have a DNA session.
Okay. Now I pass on the judgment to our listeners. Please comment below whether Abhishek has won the rapid fire round or not. So,
Sure.
As we are running out of time, last questions. What nugget of wisdom can you share with aspiring legal professionals who dream of a similar career trajectory as yours?
Okay. As I always say, my juniors or law students, whenever I interact with them, I tell them before being a good lawyer, you need to be a good human being.
Wow.
The first requirement to be successful in any profession.
Yeah.
Be honest to your work, your client, your colleagues, and yourself. And secondly, you need to remember there is no shortcut for the success. A lawyer needs to read the things whole life, and there is nothing like expertise in any subject. There is always a room to learn some things. And one of my professors, Abhishek Nema, he used to teach us transfer of property. When he used to teach us, he used to tell one thing. Whenever you read a provision, you will find something new every time, because you will see that provision in the light of the circumstances because of which you are reading it.
Wow.
Okay. So read as much as possible and interpret as per your convenience. And the last thing, you need to make your basic concept very strong. There should be no compromise in it. And I would like to conclude with the 4 slides of the Ramnari Singh Dinkar in this regard.
Please.
And that would be helpful for all of the young lawyers. तेजस्वी सम्मान खोजते, तेजस्वी सम्मान खोजते नहीं गोत्र बतलाते, पाते ने जन को प्रसक्ति अपना करकम दिखला के, इन मूल की ओर देख जा, गलत कहे या ठीक, वीर सिस्टर वीर इतिहासों में. So you have to become competent in your profession, and it will help you.
Wow, such a great answer there, Abhishek. On all our podcasts, this was so far the best answer. Thanks a lot for joining on this podcast and enlightening our listeners.
Thank you so much.
As we draw curtains on this captivating episode, thanks to our listeners for tuning in. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, basically all the usual stuff. But before I leave, I wanted to share this message with you.
Dear listeners, as you step back into the world beyond this podcast, carry with you the echoes of Abhishek's wisdom and the lyrical verses he weaves. Remember that life isn't just black-letter law, it's the spaces between the lines, the metaphors hidden in plain sight.